In part 1 of our series, we identified the beast by examining 8 prophetic characteristics found in both Daniel and Revelation. At no point did I need to name the beast myself. The scriptures speak plainly enough for anyone willing to study them honestly. Today, we turn our attention to the next vital question. Is the mark or the name of the beast symbolic or literal? To answer this, we will begin reviewing the texts within Revelation that speak of the mark, followed by defining the word mark using the Strong's Concordance, and finally, we'll explore how Scripture itself uses the term and defines it. By God's grace, we'll use the biblical principle of precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, to draw our conclusion. The mark of the beast is first mentioned in chapter 13 of Revelation, and then in chapter 14. In chapter 13, verses 11 to 18, we read the following. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. We read the following in Revelation chapter 14, verses 6 to 12. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she had made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. To move forward, we need to define the word mark. According to Strong's Concordance, the term refers to a mark or stamp. At first glance, this may seem to suggest something purely literal. However, before drawing any conclusions, we must apply the biblical principle of precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. With that in mind, we will now turn to Exodus chapter 13, specifically verse 3, and then verses 6 through 10, to see how Scripture itself uses this concept. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day, in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand of the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall be no leavened bread be eaten. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season for year to year. According to Strong's Concordance, the word sign in Exodus chapter 13, verse 9, carries the meaning of a mark, showing that the term mark and sign share the same underlying concept and can be used interchangeably in Scripture. This connection demonstrates that Exodus chapter 13, verse 9 is not describing something different from Revelation chapter 13, verse 17, or Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, but is expressing the very same idea. The parallel between Revelation chapter 13, verse 17, Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, and Exodus chapter 13, verse 9 is intentional and worth noticing. We can therefore understand the word sign in Exodus chapter 13, verse 9 as equivalent to mark, confirming that all three passages are speaking about the same concept. The language is interchangeable, and the biblical context shows a consistent pattern of God using the idea of a mark or sign to represent identity, allegiance, and obedience. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, referenced in Exodus chapter 13, verses 3 and verses 6 to 10, served as a continual reminder for Israel, and for every generation after them, of how God brought his people out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, by his mighty hand. Scripture explains that this remembrance was to function as a sign or mark upon their hand and a memorial between their eyes, language that symbolically connects action with belief. Their participation in the feast involved physical obedience, represented by the hand, while the memorial aspect pointed to conscious remembrance, an intellectual acknowledgement tied to the forehead or mind. Taken together, these verses make it clear that the sign or mark described here was never intended to be understood as a literal engraving, but as a spiritual and practical expression of loyalty, identity, and obedience. We have further confirmation of this in Revelation chapter 14, verse 1, and also in Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 to 4. Revelation chapter 14, verse 1 reads, And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 to 4 reads as, And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. The 144,000 referenced in Revelation chapter 14, verse 1, and those servants that serve God as referenced in Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 to 4, will not bear the Father's name as literal inscriptions on their foreheads. Instead, his name will be impressed upon their hearts and minds, engraved in their character, convictions, and loyalty. Scripture consistently uses the forehead to symbolize the intellect and the hand to symbolize actions, making it evident that this sealing is spiritual rather than physical. The evidence throughout Scripture shows that the mark of the beast is not a physical engraving, implant, or technological device. Because the Bible consistently uses the hand to represent actions and the forehead to represent the mind, we can confidently rule out the popular modern theories that focus on external mechanisms. It is not a technological implant such as a microchip, RFID device, or barcode. It is not a digital identity, biometric ID, or mandatory global credential. And while Revelation does describe economic pressure restricting buying and selling, this consequence does not define the mark itself. Instead, the mark represents an inward allegiance that manifests in outward obedience. Just as God's seal is written in the hearts and minds of his faithful, the mark of the beast signifies loyalty expressed through belief and behavior. The final issue is not technology. Join us for part 3, where we'll explore what the beast desires and what its mark is. God bless.